Hello and welcome to Colred Plays Raid Shadow Legends. I am Colred. Thank you for joining me today. In today's video, I'm going to be finally revealing my method for the best way to farm faction crypts in the early game. Now, this is an incredibly powerful method. It's going to synergize with a lot of the other things that you want to do. You can start it on day one of a new account, and it's going to be valuable for you for many months, 4, 6, 8 months, depending on how fast you progress your account. It's extremely efficient, and as a free-to-play player, you know I'm always worried about efficiency. I want to get the most for my resources. I have never seen another content creator put out a video about this method. I don't know if other people use it. I assume other people will use it. I can't be the only person who's thought of this. But I wanted to just share it with you because I think that if you are new in the game, if you are struggling with faction crypts, or if you are trying to get more value out of your resources, this method is going to be incredibly powerful. It's going to make a lot of sense once I start to explain it, but it does have several moving parts, so you want to keep watching because as you progress in the game, you will have to adapt this method for the stage that you're in. So let's talk about, first of all, why this is so important, and then we'll get into the actual method to get the maximum value out of faction crypts, starting on day one. Okay, so the first thing that we know, if you've watched my other videos on faction crypts or on the Forge here, you know that we can get powerful gear from the Forge early in the game, Resilience set and Perception set. You can also get some Swift Parry and Deflection. All those are a little bit trickier because they take these core hammers. But from faction crypts alone, you can farm all the materials necessary to forge Resilience set and Perception set. So we get these materials from the faction crypts, and you can see when you go into your faction crypt that you are going to have the rare materials along with the glyphs that you're getting, which are also powerful. You're going to be getting the rare materials up until stage 6. At stage 7, you will start to get a mix of epic and rare materials. And then as you go up further at stage 13, you can start to get the legendary materials. So what we want to do, first of all, is even the rare materials are valuable, and we do want to get as many rare materials as we can. But we also want to get access to those epic materials as quickly as possible. And then eventually we want to get to those legendary materials again as quickly as we can. But we need a method for doing this that isn't going to be wasteful. We don't want to put resources here that aren't helping us elsewhere. So one of the things that I know players do is they avoid building Faction Wars champions early in the game because they want to make sure they get their first 6-star or their second 6-star fully going before they start worrying about leveling up a champion to level 30 or 40 or 50 here for faction crypts. So my method is going to help you avoid that conundrum, and we're actually going to use the champions that we have to help us not only farm easily up to stage 6 or higher, but also to help us get those 6 stars very quickly that we need early in the game. Now, I just want to show you this loot table. This is the Faction War loot table and drop rates. The column behind me here is the glyphs, so you can look at that if you want, but that's not really what the focus is here. Obviously, glyphs are great, but we want to focus on the soul stones and the bloodstones. And one of the things that you'll notice is that it's exactly a 50-50 split. So when you go across a row here, you're always going to have 100%, right? If you add up all of those percentages. So as you can see, when you get into stage 1, you only have a chance of dropping 1 or 2 of the rare materials. That is a very low number, and you would have to do that a lot. Now, one of the things that I've heard content creators say is, you know, even if you can only farm stage 1, you should. And I agree with that statement, but you should usually be able to push beyond stage 1. Even if you can just get to stage 3, remember stage 3 has the same number of keys as stage 1. Stage 1, 2, and 3 all take 1 key. So you can actually double the number of soulstone materials you can get here if you can just get to stage 3. Now at stage 4, you go up a key. So stage 3 and stage 4 are technically the same drop rate because you're using 2 keys and you're getting double the materials. But if you can get up to stage 6, which is usually the goal for every faction, we always want to get up to stage 6, even if we're only 1-starring it. If we can get up to stage 6, we start to pull 5 to 7 soul stones per key. And that's important. We want more soul stones per key. Remember, if you're getting 12 keys a day and you're averaging, say, 8 soul stones, right? That's 96 materials per day. That's almost 10 pieces of gear that you can roll per day from one faction. And you always have at least 2 factions open. So we can be getting 10 4 to 5 star pieces, or at least 3 to 4 star pieces per day if we get a little bit lucky with the rolls, if we can get to at least stage 6. Now remember also, for the first week of your new account, once you unlock the faction crypts for the first time, your starter champion faction will be open for 7 days. So what that means is you can get in there and you should be able to get past that first boss and hopefully get up maybe as high as stage 9, maybe 10, 11 even. And you can start to collect not only some epic soul stones, but maybe, if you can get all the way to 13, you can start to pick up a few legendary soul stones or bloodstones, right? We want both, obviously. So that's the goal with our main faction, but the goal in every faction is to see if we can get up to stage 6. Now, we may not be able to get to stage 6 every single time, but if we can get to stage 5, that's great, or 4, even 3 is good. Okay, so we want to try to get to at least stage 3 to be getting as many rare materials as we possibly can in the faction crypt. And now we're going to talk about how do we do that. So one of our most important goals early in the game is to farm up food fast and efficiently so that we can actually, promote our starter champion from 3 stars to 4 stars, 4 stars. We want to get all the way to 6 stars. And then we have to start working on the other champions. Again, we have to get a lot of chickens. We have to create a lot of chickens in order to do that. So we're going to be taking, 2 stars to 3 stars, 3 stars to 4 stars, so on and so forth. So what I want you to do is stop just randomly choosing your food. Okay? Don't just pick somebody that you don't like the look of. You're going into campaign and you're going over here. Maybe you're farming. I'm farming 12-3 hard right now. I'm like, okay, I have some food here. These food champions are chosen specifically for faction wars. Okay, I really want to focus every day on the right food champions. And I'm going to show you my method for doing that. So the first thing you need to do is you need to go into the faction wars and you need to see what faction crypts are open for today. So I have Dark Elf Crypt, Barbarian Crypt, and Sacred Order Crypt. Now, Sacred Order Crypt is my main crypt. You can see it's open for a little bit more than 2 days. So I'm going to have that open for a while. Okay. So I do want to farm that as far as possible. You can see I'm currently farming stage 9. Now I have to farm these other 2 as well, and I haven't opened them yet. You can see that I am still on stage 1. I haven't done anything yet. So the first thing I want to do, let's assume for a second that I don't have any champions in these crypts at all. I'll look at Dark Elves because I know that that's not true. The first thing you want to do is you want to actually click on this battle, and it's going to show you all your available champions. If you need to, you can filter and open your master vault, and it'll include all the champions you own that are of that faction. Okay, so this is an easy way to just locate those champions. You can also do this in your roster. You can filter based on the faction. So actually, let's go do that. So over here, we're just going to go up to this little symbol, and we're going to go to faction. I love this new functionality that they added into the game. Click on Dark Elves, and we will see all of our Dark Elves that are available. Now, this is today's faction. Now, you can see I only have 3 champions. One of them is even a common, but I've run them up to level 20. I actually did that yesterday because I knew that today this faction was coming. So now today what I want to do is I want to run these up to level 30. So I need to promote them and I need to run them up to level 30. But I also need to know what factions are coming tomorrow. So I'm going to go back to faction crypts and I'm going to say, okay, I want to look around at the timers. So Bannerlord is opening in 7 hours and 52 minutes. So that's tomorrow's faction. Now, why do I care about tomorrow's faction? Well, 1, I want to start running up tomorrow's faction champions today. And 2, when I promote my Dark Elves, I don't want to consume Bannerlord champions. Okay. So anything else opening tomorrow? Sylvan Watcher Crypt. Now, I don't have any Sylvan Watchers. I haven't pulled any Sylvan Watchers. There are no uncommon or common champions in the Sylvan Watchers. So I don't have to worry about that today. But if I had a second one, I would want to think about those champions in that faction as well. So for instance, if dwarves were opening tomorrow, I would be holding on to my dwarves and leveling them up. So yesterday, I leveled up Dark Elves and Barbarians to 20. And then today I started focusing on getting them to 30. So let me go ahead and show you that again. Okay, so again, I'm going to my filter here and I'm going to go to factions and I'm just going to show you my Barbarians. So you can see I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got 4 champions that are leveled up to either 20 or 30. I pulled Armina today, so I've started leveling her up, and I got Jamarsa at the beginning of the game. So I didn't need to level up as much food in this faction because I knew Jamarsa was going to be one of my champions. So what I did at first was pick 4 champions. So I picked Head Taker, Spirit Walker, and the 2 Dervishes. Now you want to select your food champions for their abilities. And one of the reasons why I picked this Dervish is because she has a 2-hitter on her A1. She also has a decreased defense. So these champions are going to get decreased defenses out there. That's going to give me a better chance to survive and win a stage. I chose Spirit Walker because she has a decreased attack, which might be helpful. And also because she places an increased attack buff on all allies. And then I chose Head Taker because of her A2 has a chance of decreasing the turn meter. I could have chosen other champions. I did not have Shield Guard at the time, but I will probably try to run him up before I actually do this faction crypt, because not only is he a defensive based champion, but this is one of those uncommon champions that you want to hold on to for a long time. He's got this A2, which is an AoE, and it also fills his turn meter for each critical hit. So you can get a lot of extra turns out of him. And he's very survivable. You can put him in a lifesteal set, and he's going to do a lot of work for you in Barbarian faction crypts. Now, all the rest of these Barbarians can be used as food because I've already got my 5 champions. I've actually got 6 champions right now. I'm going to use Armina. So I'm going to take these 2 Dervishes in. I'm going to run up my Spirit Walker, I think, because of the increased attack. So I'm going to run her up to 30, and I'm going to use my Head Taker as food. All right, so she's going to become a 3-star chicken for me, just like this Crusher is. And then the rest of these champions can be used as food because I don't have to worry about Barbarian crypts coming back around for a while. If I swap over here to Dark Elves, I know that I want to hold on to these champions. I'm going to run them all up to level 30 today before I get into faction crypts. And then the final faction that I have to worry about is Bannerlords, which is up for tomorrow. Now you can see I only have 1 uncommon Bannerlord, so I have to start finding these Bannerlords. You can look in the market. Obviously, you can pull shards. You can also farm campaign where Bannerlord champions drop. I do have a Preserver here, so I'll run her up to 30. Now, with 2 level 30s, I might be able to get stage 1 done. It's hard to say. I might have to put gear on my Preserver, but I'm hoping to pick up 5 champions. I have no real champions in this faction that I'm worried about holding on to. Preserver is obviously a fusion champion, so I want to run her up to level 30 anyway, maybe 40. I forget which fusion she's a part of. So I can do that, and that's going to give me extra value there. But I want to start finding Bannerlords for tomorrow. Now, finally, one of the things that you can look at is as you progress through this, you may want to look more days out in advance. So I know that I have Skinwalkers in 2 days. You'll notice that nobody else opens in 2 days, which means it's one of these 3 factions that are currently open that will be open in 2 days. So I may want to hold on to some of the champions in these factions, or I can just start fresh when, those open in 2 days. But I am actually running up some Skinwalkers already because I don't have many Bannerlords at the moment. So I've been using the opportunity to run up some Skinwalkers. So my point is focus on the food that is going to help you in these faction crypts. Now, if you look at my Barbarian crypt, I'm going to get in here with Jamarsa, Armina, and it's going to be 3 level 30 champions. I think that's the one I'm taking. It might be this one. I forget. So she's going to be level 30 with 2 40s and 3 level 30s. Remember, only Jamarsa is geared. I'm not putting gear on any of these champions. I should still be able to take this to stage 6. I think I will be able to take this to stage 6 pretty easily. If I have to, I can go ahead and gear Armina a little bit because she's obviously not going to be food. I'm going to hold on to her for a long time. So I should be able to get to stage 6. I'm not going to be able to get through the first boss, but that's okay. Remember, stage 6 is I'm getting potentially 10 pieces of gear from stage 6 if I can use, as many keys on that as possible. Now, I'm not going to be able to do that today because I'm going to have to use some keys to get up to stage 6, but I might be able to get 6 or 7 pieces of gear just out of this faction crypt. If I can do the same on the Dark Elves faction crypt, then that's talking about, maybe 10, 12, 14 pieces of gear today just from those 2 crypts alone. And remember, I still have my Sacred Order crypt. So maybe 20 pieces of gear today, maybe some 5-star pieces of gear, definitely some 4-star pieces of gear today in both the perception set and the resilience set. All right, now I want to show you my team in the Sacred Order Crypt. So here you can see I've actually got, I do have a 5-star chicken in War Priest. I turned it into a 5-star chicken, but I could actually throw this 4-star in here as well. You can see I've leveled up some of my food to 4 stars. Now, some of these 4-star level 40s are champions I'm using in Clan Boss, and that's fine. But also, I want to use them here in the Faction Crypt. So this is probably going to be my team for today. That's going to push me as far as possible. Why level up some to 40? Well, you need 5-star chickens, which means you need to get some champions to 40. Since I had this Faction Crypt open all week, this was the place I chose to make my 40s. Right. However, you can also do this in a regular crypt. If you think about it, if you have 1 4-star, let's say I just had 1 4-star. This was not my starter crypt. This is any crypt. If I run one champion up to 40, and then I run all the other champions up to 30, and they're all food champions, that equals 1 5-star. I can turn all of the 30s into 4-star chickens, and then feed all of those 4-star chickens into the 40, and I've got my 1 5-star. So if I can do this once a day or twice a day, depending on how many faction crypts I have open, I can get 1 or 2 5-star chickens per day. And that means in maybe 4 days, I can get another 6-star, right? So you need to be focused on this. And again, you're going to consume all of this food, and then you need to start it again with a new faction and a new faction and a new faction. Okay, so you want to keep doing this, but this is a really good way to progress your, not only your faction crypts, but to progress your main champions, to get them to 6 stars and to, promote your next champion, so on and so forth. Now, in order to get more XP, you can use the Guardian Ring. You can throw some champions into the Guardian Ring and have those going. So maybe you want to do the champions that are 2 or 3 days out in the faction crypt. If you have a good uncommon for a particular faction, go ahead and throw that into the Guardian Ring. And by the time it gets up to, level 20 or so, you'll be able to promote it and then get it into the campaign to get it up to 30. So it only takes a couple of days to level up a champion to level 20. So you can do that a couple of times. And if you've unlocked multiple Guardian Ring slots, you can use as many champions in there as you want. But again, don't pick your food randomly. Pick it according to what you're going to do in the faction crypt. So right now I'm going to get into the tavern here, and I want to upgrade my dark elves. I need to upgrade my dark elves. Now you'll notice I have a ranger here. She's an uncommon, but first of all, she has an AoE attack, which is not so bad. And also, she's one of my only dark elves. So you can use uncommons, you can use commons, you can use rares, you can even use epics to help you out in this case. So I'm going to go ahead and start feeding some champions into these. Now remember, I can use these other barbarians because I know I'm not using them. I also use, I think this is Ifrit or whatever his name is, because you get him from Farming Campaign. So I use him as food, and I can do that pretty comfortably. And let's see, who else can I use? I can use all the barbarians. I don't want to use her. I can use this uncommon. Let's say I can use the barbarians. So let's use other barbarians. I also want to get, I forget which barbarians I'm choosing now, but let's go ahead and again we can use the barbarian. I've also got other factions that I know are not coming up in the next day or two, so I can go ahead and use those, like Knights Revenant. I don't care about that right now. And let's get one more. We'll get her up there. And so this is Sacred Order. My Sacred Order is all set, so I don't need to worry about that. And then again, we have a Knights Revenant here who I don't need. So that promotes all of my champions to 3 stars that I'm going to be using today. I'm going to go in here and grab some more champions from Mystery Shards, and I'm hoping for maybe another Night Elf somewhere in here, even if it's a common. So I think Night Elf, I'm sorry, Dark Elf. So I think that Lurkers and Mage Killers are both, I think they're Dark Elves. Mage Killer is, and Lurker is, and Lurker is. So I've got enough now. In fact, I've got 2 Mage Killers and 2 Lurkers. So I'm going to run 2 of those up. I'm not sure which. Let's look at the abilities. Okay, so attacks 1 enemy, and then Lurker, what does she do? Chance of poison. So neither one is particularly good. Maybe I'll take 1 of each. I don't know. Is one more survivable than the other? One's 102 speed. One's 96 speed. I'll take the 102 speed, so I'll take the mage killers. You could do this based on affinity. You could do this based on, you know, whatever the team composition is. I also picked up another shield guard, which is nice. Okay, so now I'm going to get into my campaign. And I'm going to worry less. I don't need these skinwalkers until tomorrow, so I'm going to pull them out. I still want to run Armina up, but I need to get my 2 mage killers going. So I'm going to run these up, and I'm going to run these up again to level 30. So it will take a while. I need the energy to be able to do that, but I should be able to farm these up to level 30 pretty quickly. And then I can get into my faction crypts. So I'm going to do that right now. I will come back once I'm ready to get all my faction crypts going, and we'll talk about what happens there. Okay, so I have completed my farming. It has been a while. Obviously, you need a lot of energy for this process, but you need the energy to run up food anyway. So it's more about being selective with your food and, you know, choosing where to put your energy than it is like having more energy. But so if we go into the Barbarian crypt, we'll see I have my 2 level 40s. I have my 3 level 30s. You can also see I have some 3-star food there because I was running those up before I got Armina. So yeah, so I'm going to be able to do this crypt. Now here, what I'm hoping to do is to 3-star all the way up to stage 6. So we're going to let this run. We're going to see what happens. Obviously, Jamarsa is a reviver, so that's a really good, strong champion to have. Because she's going to stay alive. She's my most survivable champ. I can literally get everybody down. As long as Jamarsa is alive, we'll have 1 enemy left alive, and then I can revive my entire team and get 3 stars. So that's the goal here. Obviously, the champions are all at level 30 or higher, so they should get through the first few levels, no problem. I'm hoping to get to level 6, or stage 6, be able to farm stage 6, but we'll have to see how that works. Now, Jamarsa doesn't have any books, so her cooldown on her revive is quite long. So we're going to have to probably manual this at some point just to make sure that we can actually accomplish the 3 stars. And that's something I suggest that you do with your faction crypts, is especially early on, you know, getting 1 more level, getting 1 more star, that can be rewards, that can be very valuable. So you want to consider doing that. So yeah, I have 3 turns here that I have to wait until she can revive. I don't know if this is going to work here. So rather than rerun this and waste a key, I'm just going to restart now, and I'm going to manual this because what happened was Jamarsa basically used her revive too early. So we're just going to go ahead and manual this one. We get the revive, get the 3 stars. That was harder than I thought it was going to be, but 3 more stars. So you don't need to 3 stars, you know, 3-star a level in order to get value out of it. I'm not going to probably 3-star anymore. I'm probably just going to 1-star, but I am going to try to get to stage 6 if I can. It's potentially possible that I get stuck, say, at stage 4 or 5, and I could consider gearing up Armina, right? I could just put some 2-star, 3-star gear on her. I'm going to keep her. I'm not going to make her food. So I may as well gear her up a little bit, especially if it's going to help me get to stage 6, where the rewards really start to ramp up. Okay, so I have gotten to stage 6. You can see it's not fast, but I am, in fact, clearing stage 6, which was my goal. And I can come in here and use the super raid. So I'm just going to do that. I did have to put Armina into some very weak lifesteal gear just to make sure that Jamarsa wasn't getting killed off. I needed somebody else to be a little bit of a tank for her. And then it's been very easy ever since. It's not fast, like I said. I do think that a better combination here would be is if I had my level 40 be my damage dealer as opposed to my support. Obviously, then I'd be clearing waves a lot faster, especially if you have an AoE damage dealer. So for instance, in the Barbarian faction, if you had a Zephyr Sniper or a Shield Guard, neither of whom I had at the beginning of the day and both of whom I have now, but putting them, you know, in a lifesteal set and then letting them be your AoE damage dealer, I think that would clear these waves very easily and also allow you to get to stage 6 without any epics. So I think that would work. But again, I would probably get them up to level 40, get at least one of them up to level 40 in order to do that. I haven't done that with my other faction crypt, which is the Dark Elves. So we'll see how I can do there with just 5 level 30 champions. as soon as this is done. Okay, so I do have one key left over, which means I want to go to stage 3. If you have one key left over, remember, you always want to use the key in the highest stage that you can get for that number of keys. If you have one key left over or two keys left over, because again, you get more drops, right? More materials for the forge from the higher stages. Okay, so that is it for the Barbarian crypts. You can see I have some rewards to collect here. I've used 18 keys. I did unlock advanced keys today, or advanced quests today, which allowed me to get 6 more keys. Now I'm going to go into this faction here. And again, I just have my 530s. I'm hoping to get to stage 3. If I can get to stage 3, that's going to allow me to get the most materials I'm likely to get without a 4-star champion here in this faction. But even if I can only get to stage 2, that's fine. I want to try to get as far as I can each day, and I want to try to get as many stars as I can each day. But right now, I am only 20 minutes away from the server reset, so I'm just pushing as hard as possible to make sure I don't miss out on these forge materials, because they will reset at the end of the day. So I do need to push on. You can see I only have 15 minutes left. Yeah, the timer here for the Sacred Order is okay, but I do want to show you the Sacred Order as well. So obviously what I'm going to do is I'm going to start here at stage 8. I don't have to go backwards. So I'm going to go ahead and see if I can 3-star this. I will try to push. I don't think I can push much further than I already achieved, but this is what you can do with your main champion, with your starter champion and your main faction. Okay, so I was racing up until the very last minute. I didn't quite use all of my keys. But you can see the day has just switched, 23 hours, 57 minutes on the Bannerlord Crypt. So just 3 minutes ago, we closed out the Elf Crypt. You can see I only got 1 star there. I did get 14 stars on the Barbarian Crypt. I didn't get any new Sacred Order stars, but that's okay. So I can collect my rewards here. And then I can show you that, we can go into the Forge. Now, I did have an advanced mission to forge 1 perception set, so I did that really quickly right before the server switched over. So I got my 5 gems there. But you can see I actually had 96 of these particular materials, whatever these are called, bloodstones. And if we go over to the resilience, you can see I have 47 of those. So I got roughly 140 or so, 140 or so of the rare materials. And then you can see I got a bunch of the epic materials as well. So I'm going to be able to forge, looks like 4 epic or 4 or 5-star resilience pieces. I'm going to be able to forge 8 perception pieces. And that's all based on work I just did today. So that's, a guaranteed at least 12 pieces of gear that is a minimum of 4 stars, probably going to be, some 5 stars. And again, minimum rarity of rare. So it's going to be rare, epic, or legendary gear. You can also go ahead and throw your early charms onto this gear. So like right now, I'm going to go ahead and do some perception sets. So let's just see what we get here. And right away, defensive percentage, chest piece, 5 stars. With speed, with defense. The flat attack doesn't really matter. The crit damage probably doesn't matter. This is a great piece for my Deacon Armstrong. I could potentially put this on him. I could also put this on somebody else who is a debuffer. And my Armina would work, or somebody like that. I still have to decide who I'm going to gear up next, but obviously this is a great chess piece. I'm going to have this chess piece for a long time, especially if it rolls into speed at all. So yes, I want to keep that. By the way, you can see also if I hated this, I could sell it for 60,000 silver. So if you're worried about like putting a couple of pieces of gear onto your food champions to help get maybe a little bit further into faction crypts, remember those materials, those increase in materials turn into pieces here that you can also sell. So you'll get a lot of that silver back. Let's do one more just for fun. And we got a shield with 5 stars, defense percentage, crit rate percentage, HP percentage. Pretty good defensive shield. Okay, so we're going to stop there for right now. But now let's go look at the food, because pop-ups, pop-ups, pop-ups. Yes, I actually did just get Wukong. So yeah, my Wukong chase is gone. I did in fact get Wukong, and he is now here. So these pieces, these perception pieces could go on my Wukong. Obviously, his skills are, he has a lot of debuffs on them, so he needs accuracy for those skills, the stealing all buffs, the block buffs, all that stuff. So perception gear may be really good for Sun Wukong. So as you can see here, I've been doing this for a couple of days. So I do have my 3 level 40 chickens that are ready to go and be converted into 5-star chickens. I have some 4-star chickens here. So all of my level 30s can be converted now into 4-star chickens. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This one is not a chicken. Eris is not a chicken. So I need 2 more. I need to run up 2 more champions to level 30, and then I can start converting them into chickens, consume all of them, and get my Athel to 6 stars. And that is the goal right now. So I need to get back into farming. I need to farm up some additional level 20s that I can turn into 3-star food, and then start converting my level 30s into food. Also, every single time I pick up a hound spawn, that is a 3-star chicken. Every time I pick up a Diabolist, that is a 3-star chicken, unless I am building them for their faction crypts. But yeah, so I need to get back in there, start farming a little bit more. And in this particular case, I'm not going to worry too much about the faction crypt for today. Obviously, Sylvan Watchers is not really available to me because I have none of those champions. I will be working on the Bannerlord crypt, which is currently open. And then the ones that are opening tomorrow, let's scout those out. So we know Skinwalker is opening in 24 hours. And then which other one is opening in 24 hours? It doesn't tell us, which means that it's one of the ones that is open currently, because there's always going to be at least 2. So I could go into my other account and find out. That would be easy enough. But my guess is it's going to be Sacred Order, because I think that's the next one in the rotation. So Sacred Order is going to be open tomorrow, which means I'll only have one other, which is Skinwalkers. So I only need to worry about 2 factions now, Bannerlord Crypt and then the Skinwalker Crypt. And so that's where my other food is going to be coming from for the next 24 hours. After that, I have Demon Spawn in 2 days, and I have Undead Horde in 2 days. So I will start holding on to those and not using those uncommons as food or those rares as food. I'll start putting them in my vault and then start leveling them up a little bit later, probably in the morning, get them to level 20 today, and then worry tomorrow about promoting them to level 30. One last thing to note here is as you collect good champions for your faction crypts and you start holding on to them and you worry a little bit less about getting your next 6-star and your next 6-star, this process will change. For instance, I'm holding on to shield guards right now, so the next time the Barbarian crypt comes around, I'll have him, but I want him as a permanent champion. Also, obviously, you get epics. If you pull epics, those are going to become permanent faction crypt champions. So I have some 4-star epics that I pulled during this weekend. And so I'm going to build those up to 40 at some point. I'm not in a rush to do it. Unless their faction crypt opens, I'm going to leave them probably at level 1, unless I'm using them in an actual team. But when their faction crypt opens, I'm going to get them up to 40, and they will become the core of my faction crypt team moving forward. And what that means is as I progress and I get more and more faction crypt champions, there will be fewer and fewer food champions on those faction crypt teams. So I want to realize that, know that I have to plan maybe other ways to get food. But early game, this is incredibly important to push those faction crypts as far as possible and get the rewards that you can get so that you can go in there and get your perception gear and get your resilience gear every single day. Okay, so that is it for my method for getting the most out of the faction crypts. Like I said, I've never seen anybody explain it in quite this way before. I'm sure there are players out there who use this method. If you're one of them, let me know in the comments below. Or if you just think, hey, this is a great idea, I've never heard this from anybody, let me know that in the comments below too. Also, if you have a twist or a trick that you can add to this method, something that you do maybe, or something that you thought about while watching this video that can even improve this method further, let me know that. I'm always interested in improving. Anyway, thanks so much for watching this video. If you've enjoyed it, please hit the like button. Consider subscribing to the channel. We're really pushing for that 1,000 subscribers. We are so close. So if you could help us out, I would really appreciate it. Thank you so much for being here. I've been Colred. I will see you in another video very soon.